Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this celebration and all the joyousness of the day. Worth it. I'm Mary Hafey. I'm a member of the Ordination Committee and a member of KUUC. I use she, her pronouns. On behalf of this beloved community and our UU siblings from First UU Society of Burlington, who we've learned to say, FUSBY. It is with open hearts and deep joy that we welcome each and every one of you to this sacred and celebratory occasion, the ordination of Rowan Van Ness into the Unitarian Universalist ministry. A few housekeeping reminders. The sounds of children's voices in this sacred space are joyous and add to the richness of our time together. Your cell phones, not so much. Please accept this gentle reminder and turn off or silence your phones to be fully present in this joyous occasion. Today marks a profound milestone, not just Rowan's journey, but in the shared journey of all who have walked beside her in faith, in learning, and in love. Whether you traveled from near or far, whether you are a lifetime Unitarian Universalist from another faith tradition, or simply here as a cherished friend, your presence enriches this gathering and affirms the communal spirit that lies at the heart of ministry. This ceremony is both a solemn time and a joyous time to recognize a calling, to bless a path of service, and to witness the covenant between a minister, the congregation, and the wider world. We come together not only to celebrate Rowan's gifts of compassion, leadership, and prophetic vision, but also to affirm the values that unite us: love, justice, equity, pluralism, generosity, and the transformative power of community. Let us now turn our hearts towards reverence and celebration, grounding ourselves in the sacredness of this moment. May this be a time of deep connection, of bold blessing, and of shared inspiration. Welcome, one and all. And I hope with lots of cheering today. I invite you now to rise as you are able in body or spirit and join in the processional hymn, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. You'll find the words in your order of service.
Rejoice and come in. Oh. afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
That was the best. I am the Reverend Telos Whitfield, and I'm going to offer the words of Reverend Joanna Lubkin, who is not able to be here this afternoon. I invite us all to take a conscious breath, slowing down enough to be fully present in this moment here. Right now, there is nowhere else you need to be, nothing else you need to do, other than recognize and celebrate Rowan as she is ordained. Take a moment and orient your hearts toward love and delight and beam that over to her. Where is she? Oh my God! She's hiding. It's a wondrous thing when not one but two congregations come together to say, yes, we see in you a minister. And alongside those congregations, so many loved ones, friends, and colleagues are here to affirm and celebrate this milestone. Rowan, feel the presence of all of us around you. Can you feel us grounding you? Can you feel us lifting you up? We call into this space the spirit of Rowan's mentors, teachers, students, family, ancestors, everyone who's loved her into being. As Mr. Rogers said, who's made a handprint on her heart. All those people are here today because they have journeyed alongside Rowan as she journeys onward with us. And to each of us here, who has loved you into being? Today, Rowan will make her commitment to ordained ministry, but it's a moment for all of us. Whose presence do you want to welcome in here today? To what are you being called? And with whom will you share the journey? May we fill this space with the energy of love, care, creativity, joy, and gratitude.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're the Ledoux family from Burlington. We're happy to be here. It takes a spark, it takes fuel, it takes air, and it takes a container to hold them all. It is only with all these things that we make fire. It takes a call, it takes learning and experience, it takes love, and it takes a community to hold them all. It is only with all of these things that we make a minister. Today we light our flaming chalice, and today we ordain Rowan Van Ness to the Unitarian Universalist ministry. Please rise.
We I would love to invite anyone of any age who might want to come closer to hear a story to do so. You don't have to, but you may if you wish. I have a story to tell about a little red fox who grew up in the roots of an old oak tree. Welcome. So this story about this little red fox, the fox's name was Curiosity. And it was a good name for this particular little red fox. Curiosity grew up in the roots of a big oak tree way out west. And Curiosity lived amongst a whole lot of animals who lived under this oak tree, beneath its branches, in amongst its roots. Even some lived inside the bark. Curiosity, when she was a tiny kit. So did you know red foxes are called kits when they're babies? You knew that? When she was a tiny kit, before she could remember, an elder in her community had given her a gift. It kind of looked like this. It was a little pouch, and it was sewn together from the leaves of a very soft plant called lamb's ears. And it was there from before she could remember, and it seemed empty, and she didn't know really what it was all about. She asked her parents one day, and her parents said, "You know what? It just is. It's a gift that you were given. Don't worry about it. Just leave it be." That was kind of hard for Curiosity. But it seemed empty, and it seemed kind of hard to open up, so she left it be. She loved the way it swung around her neck. And she just lived her life with this little pouch swinging around her neck. Now, Curiosity loved to play, and one of her favorite things to do throughout her childhood was to go to summer camp. She loved summer camp. It was really the first place that she ever experienced that feeling of being wholly welcomed. And that seemed incredibly special to her. She also loved summer camp because summer camp was all about play. One day in particular that Curiosity really loved at summer camp, they were making candles. There was a big vat of melted wax, and the camp counselors had given all of the campers pieces of wick, and they said to dip the wick into the wax and then to walk a huge circle around before you come back to dip again. And Curiosity thought, why do I have to walk that big circle? She tried just dipping the wick over and over and over again. And her candle didn't grow. But she noticed all of the other kids who were walking the big circle. Every time they came back and dipped again, their candle got bigger. So Curiosity said, all right, I'll try it. And she walked the big circles, and she made a candle too. It was a really fun day. And when she got home that night, she was going to sleep, and she was thinking about her day and how much she had loved making candles. And she also felt like she had learned something really important. So she went to sleep with a smile on her face. When she woke up in the morning, she could swear the pouch on her neck felt just a little bit heavier. But she wasn't sure, and she left it be. And Curiosity kept living her life, and she got bigger and bigger. Eventually, Curiosity was a teenage fox, and she was starting to notice something. She was starting to notice that she didn't feel quite as at home in that community under the oak tree as she once had. She had had a little bit of some hard times with some of her friends, and she didn't know how to handle it. And she was struggling with how to forgive them, and struggling with what to do with the feelings that came with that. She also started having questions about herself, and the oak tree community had always been a place that welcomed big questions, but these questions didn't quite feel like questions she could ask in that space. And so Curiosity made a decision. She decided to go out into the world and see what else was out there. She went wandering through so many different communities. She met some really cool people with really cool ideas. In fact, she met all kinds of different communities that thought about the world in all kinds of different ways. She met some who studied old wisdom. She met some who were making up new wisdom. She met some who were really concentrated on building within their space, and some who were building communities across trees and over rivers and through fields. And she loved wandering. But Curiosity noticed that that feeling of longing for a place where she could ask the big questions about herself, it was still there. And so as she wandered, she started looking for a place that she might find the kind of connection she knew way back when she was young. And as she was walking, she came across another oak tree. It wasn't the one she grew up at, but it looked really similar, and she wondered if maybe that was a place where those questions could be asked. She wasn't sure if the people and the animals that lived around that oak tree would welcome her, but she thought she'd try, and she stuck a note on the root. It said, "Hi, I'm looking for a community. I wonder if you have a little bit of space for me, maybe a corner I could sleep in. If you do, you can come and find me. I'll be at the big rock down by the river." And she signed it, Curiosity, and she headed down to the river. 6 different people came down to the river that day and found Curiosity, and they said, "We do have a place for you, a really great place, actually. Come with us." And they gave her coffee and snacks. And they welcomed her in, and they created a little spot in the corner with some leaves where she could sleep, too. And Curiosity was kind of blown away. At the end of that night, she was going to sleep. She was laying on her pile of leaves. She was smiling, and her belly was full from the meal she had shared with her new companions that she had just found. And she noticed that pouch around her neck. It had been there for years now, but it was definitely heavier than the last time she'd noticed it. And so she decided she was going to open it. And she pulled on the string, and she unwound the pouch, and she poured the contents out into her hand. What do you think is in there? There was a few different really special little objects, including one that was kind of stuck. Will you hold this for me? One of them was a tiny ball of wax. And when she saw it, she remembered making those candles. She remembered what it felt like to learn from playing. And she remembered what it felt like to be in a place where she was wholly herself and wholly welcomed. And she realized that she had grown up to be someone who loved to play, who had patience to wait for things to come. And that was what she remembered looking at the wax. She also saw a tiny little shell. And that shell reminded her of how much she had learned about the importance of having a home where you can be wholly yourself. And she looked at that shell and realized that she had become someone for whom radical inclusion mattered so much. And she found a piece of sea glass. And when she looked at the sea glass, she imagined the way it had been tossed and turned in the sand by waves of the ocean. And she thought about the hard times in her life when she had struggled to figure out what to do, and when she felt sad. But she realized going through those hard times, that sadness was sort of beautiful too. And more importantly, she realized through that sadness, she had learned how to set boundaries in her life, how to practice forgiveness, and how to communicate. She found a rock that was layered all different colors And it made her think of all of the wisdom she had explored and experienced traveling around the world. And she could feel that wisdom inside of her heart. And she found a shiny red glass heart. And she realized that within herself, she had discovered the deep importance of the practice of love and how transformative it could be. And as she packed all of her little trinkets back into her pouch and hung her pouch back around her neck, she thought to herself, there will be more learning to do, but I think I'm ready to step into the world and share my gifts with them. And that was a pretty magical thing. We can go back to our seats now.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is such a joy to be celebrating this occasion with all of you. My name is Dan McCannon. I was one of Rowan's professors at Harvard Divinity School, and I bring greetings from all of us who walked that part of Rowan's journey towards ordination with her. When Rowan asked me to preach on this occasion, I immediately thought about a story that I had learned in part from Rowan. And it's a little bit risky to preach such a story on this occasion, because some of you may have heard this story from her directly. And if that's the case, I just invite you to muse on any differences between the way I tell it and the way she tells it, and the lessons that we each draw. This is a story about a group of liberal Christians who lived in New England in the 1830s and 1840s. Some of them were Unitarians, some were Universalists, some were Quakers, some Baptists. Some of them belonged to all of those denominations in the course of their spiritual journey and didn't find a spiritual home in any of them. These people were deeply inspired by the story of Jesus and deeply uninspired by their experiences in ordinary Christian congregations. They thought of Jesus as a liberator, someone who had been called to preach good news to the poor, proclaim release to the captives, and break the bonds of oppression. They thought of him as a peacemaker who refused to meet violence with violence. They thought that Christians should model their own lives on Jesus by welcoming fugitive slaves into their homes and working to end all wars. But when they went to church, they didn't hear about liberation or peace or economic equality. They heard preachers who were careful not to offend the merchants, mill owners, and bankers who paid their salaries. Back in the 19th century, many churches were funded by so-called pew taxes. When a new church was built, wealthy people contributed part of the cost of building the church, and that made them owners of the individual pews. They could decide who got to sit in those pews, and they paid an annual tax on the value of their respective pews. If you had a up front pew, you paid a higher tax than if you had a back row pew. The pew owners had the power to decide who would serve as minister. So no minister wanted to get on the wrong side of the pew owners. And so the lovers of equality and peace and liberation decided it was time to start something new. It was time to shapeshift. Instead of congregations, they built intentional communities. They created places where people wouldn't just worship together, but also live and work together as equals. Now, people being people, these good folk didn't all agree on how to organize an intentional community. Some thought that every member should have an exactly equal share. Some thought it was okay to have some economic inequality as long as everyone's needs were met. Some thought it was a good idea to build a church right in the middle of the community, to anchor it. Some thought that the community would replace the church and that shared labor would replace shared worship. Because they couldn't agree, they created many communities. One of those communities wasn't too far from here, in Northampton, Massachusetts. Rowan got interested in that community when she was a college student nearby. Compared to other 19th century utopian communities, the Northampton Association did okay. It maintained a cooperative economy for about 4 years, long enough to establish a solid silk business, but not long enough to pay off its debts. Its members included anti-slavery lecturer Sojourner Truth and Dr. David Ruggles, one of the first African-American doctors in the United States. But eventually, most community members lost faith in their dream of building a cooperative community in the middle of a capitalist society. So what did they do next? Some of them moved away, but others stayed in Northampton and shape-shifted again. This is the specific part of the story that I learned from Rowan when she was a student in my Unitarian Universalist history class. The very people who had hoped that intentional communities would replace congregations eventually turned their intentional community into a congregation. Now, the First Congregational Society of Florence, as it was known, was not an ordinary congregation. It certainly did not charge pew taxes. At first, it was not part of the Unitarian or Universalist or Baptist or Quaker denominations, but welcomed anyone of, quote, liberal religious sentiments, whether Catholic or Protestant, of whatever sect, creed, or nationality. The society set up no theological condition of membership, but held it to be the duty of everyone to keep their mind and heart at all times open to receive the truth and follow its guidance. So they had a shared commitment to keep on shape-shifting. They did participate in the Free Religious Association, which had been organized by transcendentalists and abolitionists, and had a similarly open-minded approach. Instead of a minister, the Free Congregational Society had a speaker who claimed no special privileges. Over time, the radically open-minded ethos of the Free Congregational Society became more and more the norm in Unitarianism and Universalism, to the point that the society eventually merged with the Unitarian congregation in Northampton, where its story continues today. Other 19th century intentional communities also shape-shifted into congregations, including the ones in Hopedale, Massachusetts, Zoar, Ohio, and Amana, Iowa. Now, it seems to me that there's a right lesson and a wrong lesson to be learned from this story of people who shape-shifted congregations into intentional communities, then shape-shifted intentional communities back into congregations. The right lesson is that local congregations are incredibly resilient. As long as there have been congregations, there have been people who thought they could create something better. Generation after generation, those people have come and gone, but congregations are still with us. It would be risky to bet against the proposition that congregations will still be with us 100, maybe 1,000 years from now. Resilient congregations are a great gift to us today. The rule of law is under attack. Federal programs to benefit the poor are being defunded. Immigrant members of our communities face abduction by masked men. In times like this, congregations can serve as sanctuaries for the vulnerable, as centers for mutual aid, and as hubs of organizing and resistance. But even as we celebrate the resilience of congregations, we should avoid the wrong lesson. The wrong lesson is that the Northamptonites could have saved themselves a lot of trouble if they had never started shape-shifting in the first place. That's a wrong lesson because they unleashed amazing creativity on both parts of their journey, both when they were creating the intentional community and when they were recreating the congregation. During their communal phase, they provided an anchor for abolitionism in Western Massachusetts, helped Sojourner Truth launch her career as an anti-slavery and women's rights lecturer. They left a legacy of inspiration for other intentional communities, part of the reason why the Pioneer Valley is still one of the most fruitful centers for communal experimentation in the whole world. Likewise, Northampton's turn back to the congregation helped Unitarian Universalism become what it is today, a fiercely egalitarian movement that is open to spiritual wisdom from all sources and to the unique insights of all people. The true gift of the Northampton Association, in other words, was not the form of the intentional community or the form of the congregation, but its willingness to shapeshift again and again in response to changing circumstances. Now, there are lots of ways, small and large, that congregations today can practice the ministry of shapeshifting. Many years ago, my own congregation, the UU Church of Medford, Massachusetts, decided to host our town's food pantry. Over the years, we've built up a community of volunteers and food recipients who experience our church not as a place of worship, but a place of sustenance and connection. More recently, we invited a club of master gardeners to create raised garden beds around the church, allowing the pantry to incorporate more fresh vegetables. We solicited a historic preservation grant to restore our parsonage, then invited an Afghan refugee family to live there. Compared to what the Northamptonites did, these were all small shapeshifts. They didn't change the fact that for many of us, the church is still a place of Sunday morning worship and socialization. But each shapeshift created a new relationship with our neighbors. Each one made our town a bit more resilient and a bit more hospitable. Or consider the case of Grace Cathedral in San Francisco. It's the seat of the Episcopalian Diocese of San Francisco, of California, the sort of place you might expect to be stuck in its ways. But a few years ago, the people of Grace Cathedral shapeshifted in a literal sense. They ripped all their pews out, turning their sanctuary into a multiple-use space, equally suitable for Christian worship, for large-scale yoga classes, and for circus performances. And they shapeshifted their understanding of membership. They created a new program, Grace Arts, modeled on museum memberships. People with Grace Arts memberships don't necessarily engage the religious vision of the cathedral, but they get access to its abundant arts and educational programming. Some of them eventually conclude that they want to be regular church members too. Some congregations freely choose to shapeshift. Others have shapeshifting forced on them. That was the case for the Protestant congregations that resisted Nazism in Germany. When Hitler came to power, he pressured churches to shapeshift in a Nazi direction, specifically by adopting so-called Aryan paragraphs that excluded Christians of Jewish descent from leadership positions. Congregations that were unwilling to do this found themselves in a new, smaller, very vulnerable denomination known as the Confessing Church. Now, initially, the Confessing Church was afraid of shapeshifting and wanted to change as little as possible. They wanted to defend the principle that Christian churches are more accountable to God than to the government. But they didn't want to speak out on behalf of their neighbors who practiced the Jewish religion. Eventually, though, they realized what their leader, Martin Niemöller, articulated so famously. If Christians didn't speak out for Jews, and for trade unionists, and for socialists, there would be no one left to speak out for Christians. Eventually, the confessing church's shapeshifting changed Christianity as a whole, so that most global Christian bodies today affirm something that they never had affirmed before the 20th century, that the religious integrity of Christianity requires support for the religious integrity of Judaism as well. I hope these few examples might spark some new ideas about how the Keene Unitarian Universalist Church, or the First Unitarian Universalist Society of Burlington, or any of the other congregations represented here today, might shapeshift to meet new needs. But we are here today, right now, to practice a different sort of shapeshifting, the shapeshifting of ordination. Rowan walked in here a layperson. Well, actually, she walked in here a candidate for ministry and fellowship with the Unitarian Universalist Association. But she walked in here something else, and she's going to walk out an ordained minister. What's going on? Unitarian Universalists inherited the practice of ordination from our Christian predecessors. For 2,000 years, Christians have disagreed about just what changes when a minister is ordained. People being people, once again. Some think that ordination involves an ontological change. The very being of the person being ordained is transformed, and there's no going back. At the other extreme, some think of ministry as a collection of functions that individuals can take up for a time and put back down again. One person might be ordained for preaching, another for pastoral care, still another for education. A middle path sees ministry as an office that holds multiple functions together in a cohesive whole. If you take on the shape of ministry, you take the whole office on. All of these theories assume that it is the person being ordained whose shape is shifting. But there's another side of the story, also present in the Christian tradition, that we as Unitarian Universalists should take to heart. Ordination fundamentally is about a changing relationship between a person and a community. Within that relationship, it is not possible for the person to shapeshift unless the community is shapeshifting with her. When a community ordains a person, they pledge to change together, not just on ordination day, but in an ongoing way as their shared ministry unfolds. In our polity, the ordaining community is the local congregation. You, the members of the Keene Unitarian Universalist Church and the First Unitarian Universalist Society of Burlington, have the authority to ordain Rowan Van Ness. And because you are in covenantal relationship with the Unitarian Universalist Association, all of us who are Unitarian Universalists will have to do our own bit of shapeshifting in response, just as everyone else here will also shapeshift in response to the transformation of Unitarian Universalism. Now, it is my understanding that this is the very first time that the Keene congregation has performed the rite of ordination. If I'm right about that, congratulations. Your shapeshifting might be more dramatic than if you'd done this 100 times before. Up to now, you've received ministers who were ordained by other congregations. Now you have a chance to shape ministry from the ground up, and also to experience yourselves as a congregation that is helping to shape ministry for our movement as a whole. You've also decided to shapeshift by choosing Rowan as a half-time minister. In Unitarian Universalism today, half-time ministry can be a bit of a neglected step-sibling. We inherit a Puritan tradition in which ministers were always full-time, very well compensated, and set a step above ordinary lay people. In those pew tax churches I described earlier, the minister often married the daughter of the wealthiest merchant in town. Obviously, that tradition gave ministry a particular shape. At the other extreme, beginning in the 1940s, Unitarians and Universalists created hundreds of fellowships that were entirely lay-led. Fellowship members share responsibility for all the things that ministers do. preaching sermons, visiting the sick, performing weddings. Fellowships became fiercely independent and a bit anti-clerical at times. In response, some UU ministers are skeptical of everything they associate with so-called fellowship culture. Nowadays, many UU congregations are yearning for a middle path between the minister-centered Puritan congregation and the lay-led fellowship. This is partly a matter of economic necessity. Congregations like this one and the congregation I belong to want to keep a liberal religious voice alive in our communities, even though we don't have enough members to pay for a full-time minister. But it isn't just about economics. In small congregations and large, UUs yearn to share the work of ministry more deeply without sacrificing the skills and breadth of perspective that ordained ministers bring. We want to hear many different voices from our pulpits, and also to hear the unifying voice of a minister whose job it is to knit us all together. Shape-shifting to half-time ministry is one way to reach for that balance. Too often, Unitarian Universalism has treated half-time ministry as a second-rate form of ministry, guilt-tripping congregations that choose this path as somehow being not generous enough to pay for full-time. Ministers with half-time contracts have been encouraged to fit their work within rigid boundaries, lest by some accident they work more than 20 hours a week. But what's needed is not more rules, but creative trust that congregations and ministers can find new shapes together that are fully life-giving for both. For its part, the UUA has already begun to loosen the old rules. This week I'll be attending a meeting called Widening the Pathway to Ministry, where we'll explore ways that seasoned congregational and nonprofit leaders can prepare for ministry without necessarily completing a 3-year academic degree. It's an exciting initiative, also risky, but its success or failure will depend on the individual congregations that are doing the intimate work of reshaping ministry in their own unique ways. These are perilous times for congregations. Like the members of the confessing church, we confront a new, cruel government that would like to destroy any institution that does not bend to its will. Like the founders of the Northampton Association, we live in a society shaped by centuries-old patterns of oppression from which some of us have benefited and others of us have suffered. In such a moment, shape-shifting feels risky, but also is necessary. Together, always together, we might just find a new shape that the world needs. May it be so.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the Reverend Joan Javier Duval. I am the minister of the Unitarian Church of Montpelier, Vermont, and we had the pleasure of having Rowan serve as our acting director of spiritual exploration a couple years ago. I bring warm greetings and hearty congratulations from UCM to Rowan and to the Keene and Burlington UU congregations and to all of us. The two funds that we are supporting with our offering are grounded in our Unitarian Universalist principles of covenantal relationship and interdependence. And I am grateful to have been a direct beneficiary of support from both of these funds. The UUA Living Tradition Fund supports ministers in times of need, and this includes ministers in formation, that is, before ordination. And in the years between seminary and full-time employment as a settled minister, I did not have steady or a great amount of income. During this time, as a recent graduate of divinity school, married to someone who was also in graduate school, I became pregnant with our first child, who's now 11 years old. We were on the high deductible healthcare plan through my spouse's graduate school. There wasn't great coverage, maybe some of you know about this, and most of the coverage on this plan that we did receive, we had to pay out of pocket, including all of the health care I received during the pregnancy up through my child's birth. We racked up quite a lot of credit card debt in order to pay our medical bills. But with support from the Living Tradition Fund, I was able to pay off some of this debt and have a bit more stability during a time of transition and uncertainty. Also during this period and into the early years of my ministry, I was still responsible for student loan debt that I had accrued while receiving my Master of Divinity, still a requirement, though maybe not soon not to be, of our ministerial formation process. Again, the generosity of the Living Tradition Fund allowed me to lighten this load just a bit. Fast forward more than nearly a decade later, and in my 8th year serving the Unitarian Church of Montpelier, we were hit hard by flooding 2 years ago that devastated our entire city and much of New England. With only a very limited amount of money that came from our church property insurance policy, we were still in need of quite a lot of funds in order to recover and to bring our building back into usable shape. Almost immediately after that devastating flood, UUA staff were in touch with us, assisting us in applying for a grant from the UUA Disaster Relief Fund, which we received and enabled us to move quickly in order to do the repairs necessary for us to return to our building some months after the flood. And we are still continuing to recover today, in a time when climate disaster continues to unfold and impact many UU congregations. As a minister in formation, as a parish minister, as a Unitarian Universalist, I have witnessed and experienced the profound impact of the generosity of our denomination and of individual Unitarian Universalists. I hope that today you will give as generously as you can to these funds as we live out our Unitarian Universalist value of generosity, our covenantal commitments, and our interdependence. If you are writing a check, you can make it out to Keene UU Church with ordination in the memo line. Thank you, and your offering will now be gratefully received.
So we are about to arrive at the shape-shifting moment of this ordination, the act of ordination. This is the moment when Rowan will officially be ordained as a Unitarian Universalist minister and take on that title of Reverend. Now, as we heard a little bit in the sermon, often the narrative around ordination historically has been this idea of being set apart, right? Called out from the congregation into leadership, chosen for this mantle of ministry. And this can certainly feel like an honor and a privilege. It is. But it can also be pretty intimidating. Am I right? As if with that stole that you put on, the weight of the world goes on your shoulders as well. And we know that the world is pretty darn heavy right now. Now, it is true that ordination comes with great responsibility. We can't deny that, but this idea of being set apart has its problems. First and foremost, it can be incredibly isolating. In a tradition that places so much emphasis on community, are we really saying that our ministers should be apart and alone? I don't think so. That doesn't feel quite right to me. Now, in more recent years, I think I appreciate Dan really cued me up here. In more recent years, I think we've begun to realize that this isolation that can come from that idea of being set apart isn't really healthy for anyone. We've also gotten better at acknowledging that this isn't a calling that we undertake alone. We are, after all, a part of this long legacy of the Protestant notion of the priesthood of all believers. And we know that our ministry is shared. It's not just Rowan who does this ministry, or even all of those ordained ministers, or even all of the religious professionals, the people who get paid for this work. It is all of us. We do this ministry thing together, not set apart and alone. And so it seems right that when we take these moments to designate one person to take on that responsibility, the mantle of ministry, that we also offer that person support for that work. We're here today not just because it's a good excuse to worship or a good excuse to party, but because we are committing ourselves to this shared ministry, to supporting Rowan in her ministry, and to furthering the work of Unitarian Universalist communities and our world. So as we move through this act of ordination, that shape-shifting moment, we are also going to create a web of support to show our shape-shifting as well, and to show Rowan that we are here on this journey with her. Each of you who's here in person have been given a ribbon. This is your moment, find it. I love seeing all the places you've stashed it. Wave it up high in the air, would you? Do you have your ribbon? Thank you. And if you are online, I want to invite you to imagine holding a piece of ribbon in your hand. Maybe think about what color you would like your ribbon to be. And you can wave it up high too if you want. Let's all do that together, online and in person. Wave your ribbons. Those are beautiful. Thank you. And now, take that ribbon. Let's take a mindful breath together. You can close your eyes if you'd like, or focus them on your ribbon. You can notice or imagine how it feels in your fingers. And now think about what it is that brought you here today. Maybe you are a congregant who's been touched by Rowan's ministry. Maybe you're a colleague or a mentor who has journeyed with Rowan on this path. Maybe you are a friend who has witnessed and supported Rowan's path to ministry. Maybe you are a part of Rowan's family, part of that inner circle that has nurtured her on this journey. Each of us are a part of a web of support for Rowan's ministry. We are here to offer our love and care, to ensure that she knows she does not do this work alone. The ribbon in your hands or in your imagination is your piece of the web. So think about what it is you offer to that web of support. How have you, how will you, how do you help hold and uplift Rowan's ministry and our collective ministry in this world? Now imagine all of that care and support you've got in your mind just flowing out through your fingers into the ribbon. Just feel it filling up with all of your love and care. Let's take another mindful breath. And if you'd like, you can take that ribbon all filled up with love and care and give it one more wave up high as you can. There they are. And then hold on to it for another moment. During the act of ordination, we are going to tie the ribbons together into an approximation of a web. Hold on to it for now, and I'll let you know when the next step comes.
In the Unitarian Universalist tradition, congregations hold the sole authority and privilege to ordain a person to the ministry. It's a meaningful and joyous occasion when we come together to recognize and affirm one on this journey. Today we're delighted to ordain Rowan Alexandra van Ness. The rite of ordination bestows the authority of religious leadership, the title of reverend, and the privilege to wear a stole.
Rowan, in our eyes and in our hearts, you are a minister. You have received the recommendation of the Ministerial Fellowship Committee of the Unitarian Universalist Association and the boards of trustees of the First Unitarian Universalist Society of Burlington, Vermont, and the Unitarian Universalist Church of Keene, New Hampshire, have voted to ordain you. Today, we honor and affirm your calling. Rowan, would you please come forward? Rowan, are you ready and willing to travel the path of ordained Unitarian Universalist ministry?
I am.
Would the members of the First Unitarian Society of Burlington and Keene Unitarian Universalist Church please rise in body or spirit and join in the act of ordination? We, the members of the First UU Society of Burlington,
and we, the members of the Keene UU Church, do hereby ordain you, Rowan Alexandra van Ness, into the Unitarian Universalist ministry. Wherever your journey takes you, may you go with integrity and wholeheartedness. May you reach out to others in shared ministry for collaboration and creativity, knowing that you do not carry this all alone. We pledge to support you in all the ways we can. May your ministry encourage us all to grow and transform, to embrace curiosity and wonder, and to make room for joy and play. Will Rowan's friends, family, colleagues, and anyone else here who wishes to add their blessings Please rise as you are able and join in affirmation of this ordination. Rowan, we have been and will continue to be sources of love and support to you.
With joy and pride, we affirm your ordination. We offer our blessings on your ministry. May your journey nourish you and be a source of love, justice, and healing in the world. Congratulations, Reverend Rowan Van Ness.
All right, don't sit down yet. If you still have that ribbon, get it again, wave it up in the air. Yes, you did it. They did it. We did it, right? Now, what I'm going to invite you to do is find someone around you to tie that ribbon to, and then find someone to tie that set of ribbons to, and make it a little messy, right? We don't want to just go in rows. We're making a web here. Let's get them all connected together. For those of you online, I invite you to hold your hands over your hearts and imagine all your love and care flowing into this space. Connect over here. We need a lot of things. Oh, you've got it. Okay. Let's see. Let's try. We're gonna. We were encouraged to be messy, so we're going in the middle. It's a web. Is there anyone on this side? And when you're ready, you can reach across the aisle even. You're doing an amazing job. All right, let's try to pass it towards the center. Let's get it all the way towards the center. That's great. This is perfect. You all are so good at this. All right. I think we're having a few more knots here. Perfect. Okay, we're gonna now make it even messier. Just pass it towards me. I'm gonna take it. Oh, sorry, it's not connected yet. Perfect. All right, I'm gonna collect this while I think there's some stoles to be presented.
Somebody like one, and I'll get the stools. Beloved friends, in this sacred moment, we gather with reverence and gratitude to bless these symbols of ministry, these stoles offered in love by two Unitarian Universalist congregations that have walked with Reverend Rowan Van Ness. Boy, it was fun to say that for the first time on her journey of becoming.
From the First Unitarian Universalist Society of Burlington, lovingly crafted by Claire Graham Smith. This stole is offered as a testament to the threads of care Rowan has spun into the fabric of her community. Each act of wisdom, each word of justice, each moment of love woven into a work of faith made real. As the first stole placed upon her shoulders, it rests closest to her heart, a foundational gift, grounding and holding all that will follow.
From the Keene Unitarian Universalist Church, this stole is given in honor of her ministry as it unfolds, like a river-shaping stone, steady and alive. It speaks to her courage, her presence, and her deep authenticity as she steps fully into her call.
Let these stoles rest upon her shoulders like sunlight on water, blessings and guides for the road ahead. May they remind her she is never alone, held by love, and trusted to shine her light forward.
Bless these stoles, O Spirit of life. May they carry the prayers of the people, warm her in challenge, and adorn her joy in celebration.
Reverend Rowan, may you wear these gifts with humility, courage, and gladness, knowing that you are richly blessed and a blessing to this world.
And now we have one more presentation. Annie Clark, would you join me? Annie is representing the children and the youth of KUUC. Hang on for a sec. If you stand on the step, you'll probably be heard most.
Reverend Rowan, the kids of KUUC RE have made you these peace flags to congratulate you on your ordination and to thank you for being our minister. May they remind you of the peace we all feel within these walls.
Thank you.
Well, Rowan, Reverend Rowan, it's official. You are an ordained Unitarian Universalist minister. And you know what else is official? All of these people gathered here, right, and online, are officially part of your team. Also official. And this web, can you hold one end of it? I mean, there's not really ends. There we go. There's the effect I wanted. This web that we've created together represents our support for your ministry, not just in words, but in actions. We share this ministry with you. Now, as you prepare to receive the laying on of hands, we're going to make a little web on the floor for you. There we go. And I think we're going to pull a chair over. Is that good? And I invite you, as you sit in this chair in the middle of your web of support, to just feel the love and care of all of these people and communities, and know that you will never be alone in this ministry.
Oh, there we go. It just needed to go on and off, you know. So you've got a number of manifestations of your community of support. You've got this web of ribbons, you have the prayer flags, you have these 2 gorgeous stoles. But we're going to do another ritual to embody all of that in this space. The laying on of hands is an ancient ritual used to confer a blessing, often an ordination. In the Torah, Moses ordains Joshua and other elders through such a practice, initiating a succession of blessing that is passed down through generations of leaders. The early Christian church adopted this practice, and it continues on to this day, showing up in ordinations across traditions, including our own. In our tradition, it is not just clergy who can confer this blessing, but the whole community, all who have gathered to witness this moment, embodying with our bodies and our intentions the web of support, weaving ourselves and our presence into a protective tent of prayer, love, and care, blessing the sanctity of this person, their ministry, and this moment. So I want to invite everyone, as we prepare for this, to maybe rub your hands together, especially if you are joining online. Build up that energy so we can feel it from wherever you are. And as you do that, remember everyone who has blessed you, inviting them into this cloud of witnesses to bless the ministry of Reverend Rowan Van Ness. So I'll be inviting people forward in different groupings, and as each group comes forward, we'll be singing a verse of May the Life You Lead, led by Michael and the choir. So I'm first going to start by inviting Caitlin and Seneca to come forward as we begin this song together.
May the life we lead, speak for me, speak for me. May the life we lead, speak for me, speak for me. When I come to the end of the road, and I lay down my heavy load, may the life I lead, speak for me. Speak for me.
So you can see that Caitlin and Seneca are already doing this, and they're reaching out their hands to connect with Rowan. So when you come forward, I invite you to do that as you feel comfortable. And if you don't want to come forward, if you'd rather stay where you are, you can still reach out your hand and confer the blessing. But if you do, then it's an opportunity to either connect with Rowan or to connect with someone who's connected to Rowan as a way to make our own web. Next, I invite forward family, that which has been inherited and that which has been chosen, to come forward. You should know who you are.
May the love we share, may the love we share, speak for me. Speak for me. May the love we share, speak for me. Speak for me. When I come to the end of the road, and I lay down my heavy load, may the love we share, speak for me. Speak for me.
All right, look at this family. I'm now going to invite forward Rowan's colleagues, religious professionals of any traditions who are here today, as well as if there's any staff who have worked in congregations with Rowan, to come forward.
May the work I do, speak for me.
Speak for me.
May the work I do, speak for me. Speak for me. When I come to the end of the road, and I lay down my heavy load, may the work I do, speak for me. Speak for me.
All right, members of the ordaining congregations, Keene and Burlington, now is your turn to come forward and join us. And we can have some people up here in front too. Just don't block the view of Rowan to everybody else.
May the friends I keep, speak for me, speak for me. May the friends I keep, speak for me, speak for me. When I come to the end of the road, and I lay down my heavy load, may the friends I keep, speak for me, speak for me.
Okay, Michael remembered my order better than I did. Next, we invite any friends who are not colleagues or family or members of ordaining congregations. If there's anyone else out there, now is your turn. And everyone else, you're coming next. So if you don't, you come forward.
May the seeds I sow, speak for me, speak for me. May the seeds I sow, speak for me, speak for me. When I come to the end of the road, and I lay down my heavy load, may the seeds I sow, speak for me. Speak for me.
All right, anyone else who wants to come forward, I invite you to join in this web, invoking all those who have blessed us and our lives and our ministries into this cloud and this body of witnesses in this moment.
May the songs I sing, speak for me. Speak for me. May the songs I sing, speak for me. Speak for me. When I come down the end of the road, and I lay down my heavy load, may the songs I sing, speak for me, speak for me.
All right, Rowan, I hope you are absorbing all of this love, this blessing of care and support and encouragement, this faith in you and your ministry, knowing that all that energy of this moment is going into you and into this web of ribbons and into this stole, that these material reminders may be with you throughout your ministry, helping you remember that you are a part of this much bigger blessing. As we return to our seats, everyone except for Rowan and Seneca and Caitlin, we will sing together the opening verse of this song, May the Life I Lead.
May the life I lead, speak for me. Speak for me. May the life I lead, speak for me. Speak for me. When I come to the end of the road, and I lay down my heavy load, may the life I lead, speak for me. Speak for me. When I come to the end of the road, and I lay down my heavy load, may the life I lead speak for me.
So Christian Schmidt got it right. We all said it. It takes a call, it takes learning and experience, it takes love, and it takes a community to hold them all. It is only with all of these things that a minister is made. You, we can call you Reverend now, but you have been a minister for a while, Rowan, for many of us. And we're not alone, because so says the Ministerial Fellowship Committee of the Unitarian Universalist Association and the boards of the First U Society of Burlington and the Unitarian Universalist Church of Keene, New Hampshire, and this wonderful, important gathering. And all of these things that have been said and modeled in all the beauty and the tangles of the ribbons do remind you that you aren't carrying it all alone. We all have pledged to support you in all the ways. This day, long in coming, is finally here, though you are and have been a minister among us for some years now. Some of us have had the honor of accompanying you along the way. I'm one of them. When the board of the First Unitarian Universalist Society of Burlington decided to boldly have an intern, and the members of the internship committee, sorry, you've become the ordination committee, but can you just like wave your hands, those of you from Burlington who did all of this? There needed to be a supervisor, and that was me. So I have accompanied you, and I remember our first conversation in Burlington, in the sunshine, back when we thought that the pandemic was over in 2021, right? I don't know, I've lost track, but it was a long time ago. And all of us have been involved in this, and a whole bunch of us are already ready to say yes if you call for help, for anything, right? How many of the people in this room are ready to say yes when you call or you email or you text? But none of us live with you in your house. None of us except these two very special people, Caitlin and Seneca. Your family, and you do not need to call them or send them a text or write them an email because they're already there. When you need help, when you need to figure out how to manage everything you have to do today. I know about Rowan and her to-do lists and her complicated systems for managing everything, and sometimes you actually need a little more help than your wonderful tools can give you. When you need a break, when you need a hug. Does she ever need a hug, Seneca? I think she does. When you, in fact, need to stop feeling like a minister every blinking minute of the day and night. They already know because they're right there. Even when you are not right there, but working in another state. But they're right there in your mind and heart, loving you, cheering you on, right there, smiling, telling you a funny story when you really need a laugh. These two, they're pretty amazing. They are not only able to manage without you on so many evenings when you're not there physically, or when you're on Zoom, or when you're wrestling a sermon into shape in some other room in your house. Not only that, they can figure out what you would like to eat for supper when you get off the Zoom call, or suggest a walk, or just that you step outside to get a breath of fresh air, or maybe cajole you into playing a game, because Rowan has taught me that sometimes a game is what we need to do, what we need most. They're here to celebrate you and to be your most important, precious critics. It may seem premature, but Seneca is going to be a teenager before you know it. And if she's anything like my children, she will tell you what she thinks. And that loving criticism is one of the greatest gifts you will receive. And it's there in your house. When you ask, and even when you don't, they're there to help. And they will get it wrong sometimes, just like you will, and all of us. So many gifts offered and held in love. Rowan, you are so good at taking care of people. Congregants and colleagues and visitors and staff and board members and neighbors near and far. And these are the people who know best how to care for you and how to take care of themselves. Would you all, in one more bit of blessing, join me in a short prayer for this family. May this family know love and laughter even on the hard days. May they share courage and faith often. May they be blessed in their shared life and a blessing to the world. So may it be. So may it blessed be.
Will you all join me in the way of the heart, the spirit of prayer? Spirit of love, God of many names, we give thanks for this joyous, exuberant, playful celebration of ministry. We give thanks for all those gathered here and those far away, who have contributed in many beautiful, countless ways to this day, this shape-shifting. We give thanks for the ancestors of our faith who have tended its flame, and the faithful members of the ordaining congregations, past and present, who have nurtured their spiritual homes through the seasons and the years to this moment, this spring afternoon, ordaining a new soul to the shared ministry in our living tradition. And Spirit, we give thanks for this minister, the Reverend Rowan Van Ness. We give thanks for the ancestors and the loved ones, the teachers, the mentors, the cherished family, the congregations, and the inner voice of vocation that with love and wisdom helped her arrive to this day. We give thanks for the unique gifts that Rowan brings to her ministry, including but not limited to her intellect, her curiosity, her playfulness, her whimsy, her ability to play games, her dedication, and her commitment. We ask that you bring a blessing of love upon her now and in the days to come. May the joy and the validation of this time together settle deeply into Rowan's being and serve as a source of renewal in the seasons and years to come, a source reminding her always that she is enough, that she is connected in mystery and miracle through the web of connection to you, our source of love, and to all those she is called to serve. Love,
upon love, so may it be. Amen.
Reverend Ben Ness, I'm calling an audible. Would you please come join me up here? That feels just too far away. Don't worry, I've only got about 40 minutes here. So, step forward, second time. Well, look what you've gone and done. Look at all of this. All the work, all the grace, all the help of these last many years have come to fruition today as you have been lifted up by the good people of the Keene and Burlington congregations to our ordained ministry. Now, here's something I've wanted to say to you for a very long time, since back at Fusion when we began talking about what your next steps would be. And don't worry, it's not I told you so. Although it's kind of I told you so. What I'd love to say to you and what I will say to you is welcome. We're so glad you're here, and we have been waiting for you. Rowan, you have been blessed with a loving, supportive family. Hang on to that connection. Don't let one more thing on your venerated to-do lists stop you from returning a call or an email or going home. Don't always choose to place work responsibility before family. It will happen. And it is okay at times, but not all the time. Keep an eye out so that those who love you, the ones who know who you know are the most forgiving, are not always, or most always, the ones to wait for your time and attention. You also have a brilliant and diligent family of choice, friends in and out of the ministry who know you best and love you still. Additionally, you have a spiritual multitude of colleagues who are here for you today and at all the days to come. Keep them all. Keep us all close. Reach out before you need to. Seek advice even when you think you don't need it, especially if that incendiary thought ever crosses your mind. Go to chapter meetings and ministry days and lunch with people you trust. It is so easy to get lost in the work that you love, and before you know it, without even wanting to, you can find yourself isolated just beyond the reach of those whose heads and hearts you rely. My friend, this is my first charge to you. Don't just keep your connections, nourish them. Tend them so they might tend to you. Your ministry depends on it, but more important, your spirit needs it. I know all of this so well that you already do it because the time we worked together, I saw you do it time and time again. Keep doing what you know to do. Trust yourself. Reverend Van Ness, you have the good and great fortune to be embarking on a life's work that speaks to your soul. I charge you to allow yourself to breathe, to put down your beautiful stoles every so often and step away when you need to, even when there is more that needs to be done, because there is always more that needs to be done. Hear this well. The world is a better place because of you. And you need to know that it is necessary to let go just a little bit, to give yourself a break so that you don't give yourself away. You cannot save the world or any of us in it if you do not allow yourself to rest, renew, and replenish. Okay? Finally, I charge you and all of your humanness, your successes and your failures, when you are triumphant and when you fall short of your best intentions, to love yourself. Trust in your goodness and your abilities. When you are at your most critical, that is when it is essential that you engage that part of you that is visionary. Trust that part of you, that it is always there, even when, especially when you think it far away, if not outright gone. My friend, my colleague, you are where you need to be. You are embarking on a career that is exactly what you should be doing. Those of us who care for you and our faith tradition, many who are here today in body and many more in spirit, know how much our movement needs your ministry. Congratulations. Welcome. We've been waiting for you, and we are so very glad that you are here.
Yeah, we're not done with you. When our Protestant ancestors returned the rite of ordination to the congregation, we kept one thing for ourselves as ordained colleagues. We kept the collegial welcome, the hand of fellowship that stretches back further than our Protestant ancestors. And so today I stand, yes, right now I'm the developmental lead of the New England region and you are serving the Keene congregation, but this is a welcome to something that will last longer, and we will keep moving into different roles within that web of colleagues. You've been given lots of chances along the way, I know, where people have said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And here we are. You said yes. And you were asked that question, "Are you sure?" because this is hard. It is beautiful and glorious and often hard. It is hard because you are human. You have your doubts. You have your limitations. And you are sometimes cranky. It is hard because they are human and they have their limitations and they get tired and they're sometimes overly enthusiastic and opinionated and sometimes cranky. It is hard because your colleagues are human and sometimes overly opinionated and cranky. And because you and I come into a web of collegial past where some of that humanness caused harm intentionally and unintentionally, and it is ours to heal that. And we, your ordained colleagues, can say on most days, it is worth it, even though it's hard. But because it's hard, we need you and you need us. Reach out, connect, be mentored, mentor. You come into this ordination today with kinds of experience and wisdom already to be shared. Hold your colleagues accountable. When you worry about someone, tell them. When you worry about their practice of ministry or their care or their mental well-being, reach out and say so. And ask us to hold you accountable. When you're realizing that you are facing the choice again to neglect yourself, your family, your congregation, or someone particular in your ministry, reach out. When you realize there's no way to do no harm and you need help deciding how to do less harm, reach out. So there is this web of support for you, the web of your family, and I am welcoming you into the web of your collegial support. I didn't build it. We didn't build it. We inherited it. It is a patchwork of some knitting and crocheting and weaving. There are darned holes, some of them with embroidery and some of them patched together just well enough. There are holes big enough still to fall through. And there's work to be done. So get out your needle. Someday you may serve in some leadership role where you help weave a new panel or darn one of those holes. But the weaving and the knitting, the crocheting, all of it is a daily occurrence. It's in the reaching out and saying, how are you doing? It's in the, I missed you at the cluster meeting. It's in the, I need help. It's in the, here's my script. It's in all those ways that we reach out to each other over and over again. And it's only occasionally that we stand in front of our congregations and they see this web, but it is here all the time. And you won't always be able to show up in person, especially during the active years of parenting, I know. But we're all right there on the other end of the email and the phone, and we need you, and you need us. So on behalf of your colleagues, I know that we are enthusiastically grateful to welcome you among us, that we and our ministries are stronger, more beautiful, and more joyful for having you with us. Here's the hand of fellowship. You're part of us.
Good afternoon. We're the Clark family, and we invite you to join us in reading the words printed in your order of service as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with the world until we are together again.
My friends, we cannot carry the burdens of life and of our world on our own. It takes joy, it takes persistence, it takes each of our gifts, and it takes love to hold them all. It is only with these things that we can create a meaningful community, and in coming together, we can do more than we ever thought was possible. May we know that more is possible, and make it so. Amen. Amen.
us strong. Blend our voices in the chorus of creation's living song. Courage bids us lift our eyes upward to the shining skies. Hope calls us on. Hope calls us on. Loyal guides in love and duty, lead us with a trusted light. Blessed are they whose inward beauty shows the path of truth and life. Honor is their earthly prize. By their work we realize faith calls us on. Faith calls us on. Faith calls us on. Faith calls us on. We have shared a radiant hour. We have shared. And the truth has made us free. And the Spirit's gracious power dreamed of good that yet shall be. Bright the path before us lies. Joyful pilgrims now